Man, this thing takes forever. Okay, we are live. Awesome. So we are, I'm muted. Am I? No, I'm not. Okay. Hi, everybody. So my name is Shagrayla Hammond, and I am with the Greater Augusta Black Chamber, and I am the VP member at large. Chamber check-ins happen with the now leaders, with myself and Kikwana Cherry. Happy to have you guys here with us today on this impromptu check-in. Our check-ins are usually Tuesday at 3:30, but today we decided to do a Monday morning situation because I have something important I want to talk to you guys about. On the other side of the screen with me, I have Mr. Reginald Cunningham, and he is going to talk with us today about mental health in the Black community, especially along with men, and how it affects men. Because this month is National Men Health Month. And so it is very important that we talk about that. I feel if you can't take care of your mind, then you cannot take care of your body because all of it is connected. So you guys make sure you guys follow MyJBC on Instagram, Twitter, also the Greater Augusta Black Chamber of Commerce page here on Facebook. And don't forget to visit our website, myjabc.org, for more information. All right. So, Mr. Reginald, if you can give us a little bit of background of what you do.
Okay. Sure, and thank you, Sabrina, for inviting me for this, like you say, impromptu check-in. I am Dr. Reginald Cunningham, and I have a group practice here in Washington, D.C. So I service individuals in Virginia, D.C., and also Maryland. I try to build my practice with a focus on targeting people of color, particularly Black men, and I built my practice around that particular target, mainly because it's needed. I started this journey some 20 odd years ago with a focus on Black adolescent males. Over the years, that has grown into just particularly targeting African American men, because there is just such a need that Black men don't actually realize what's going on in their lives. And also, we can't dispute that there has been such this big stigma against people of color in general seeking mental health help, partly because it's been known that, they say that this is a quote unquote white thing. But luckily, with the advancements of what we're seeing in our communities these days, there's a lot of people of color, clinicians of color, who are branching out to help service our population that is in great need of mental health services.
Awesome. So glad to know, because that's exactly what we're talking about today. We're giving the men the floor to pretty much, I wouldn't say express themselves, but express themselves and let them know that it's okay to do so, and that it's healthy to do so. So I guess you kind of hit on a few things that I wanted to dive into. So I guess the first one is about the stigma that's surrounded by it. You do hear that, yeah, oh, this is a white problem, or you hear that, mental health is, if you have some type of mental health problem, you're crazy, or, it's either mixed diagnosed as something else. So what do you have about the stigmas, a little bit more detail about the stigmas in the Black community, and how they may look so that people know how to identify it?
Well, number one, I mean, the stigma goes back many, 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 many years. And, we usually trace it back to the Tuskegee experiments. But along the line, since then, there has been this stigma. There's been this talk that we, as Black people or people of color, we don't talk about our problems. We don't talk about our problems outside of the family. So therefore, we're keeping those, again, family secrets that tend to perpetuate through life. There's been this disparity in healthcare in general. Um, you know, access to healthcare has been challenging and continues to be challenging for people of color, particularly men. Us men, and I always put myself in, I separate my profession from myself, and I always put myself in explanations. We weren't taught to talk about what we feel, what we think. We were just bred to take care of the family by any means necessary. Even today, what we're seeing in therapy when it comes to couples and marriages is that because of COVID, of course, couples are pretty much stuck at home and they don't know how to navigate things because they never learn how to really communicate with one another. And that's the argument that we're getting from a lot of the females in relationships, that, he doesn't know how to talk, he won't talk, and things of that sort. The stigma, I think, in my opinion, I have not done any research on this. I think the doors are opening very very steadily. I'm seeing in my own practice a total increase of Black males seeking therapy. And with all of the new platforms that are out there available for people of color, Therapy for Black Men, Black Therapist Rocks, there's a lot of things on social media that has sparked an increase in Black men and men of color seeking mental health therapy.
Had to unmute myself. Awesome. Okay. So, that is really, really great. I know also, as you saying, like a good resource, I know Talkspace is another great one as well. I know they make sure that in their directory of, therapists, that they have Black males, Black male therapists for Black men. So I know that is another great one. I know several people who use it as well.
I will
Um,
also, I will also say, there's no research out there, but I think that COVID has been an advantage when it comes to therapy and people seeking therapy. Um, I think it's probably that idea that I don't have to go in and face that man in therapy, so I can be on this screen, and if I don't like what's going on, I can check out anytime I want to, But I also think that has been us being able to provide telehealth, teletherapy has made a possible difference in Black men seeking therapy as well.
Definitely. And so I guess that can help us, move on to our next point, which is I was going to talk about what does seeking help, or what does understanding that you may need help, or how does the conversation shift now in this climate with everything that's going on with COVID, with, well, we'll start with COVID first, because I feel like now everyone is home. Everyone has, I won't say nothing to do, but they have more free time than they're used to. So along with, of course, now I can sit, just on a computer, and if I don't like it, I can shut my computer, walk away, and just, storm around my house mad, versus I'm not sitting, on the couch next to the therapist or anything like that. I also think a lot of people have had the time to sit with themselves
Mm-hmm.
and realize, like, hey, maybe, I do this. Maybe I need to, fix this, or maybe I need to work on this. So in this climate, and with, COVID, how has, I guess, the realization of therapy and the realization of, hey, I need to check in more with my mental, um, I guess, how has it grown? Like, how has it changed? Like, what does it
I think that
look like?
you know, a lot of the referrals that come by email, a lot of times, I really do read the ones particularly from Black men. And a lot of them are actually saying, I've never done this before. I don't know what this looks like. Um, or I don't, they don't identify a particular thing. They just know that something is wrong and that possibly this may be an outlet. So what I try to get my Black male therapist to do is to ask them, why now? I always ask that question. Why are you seeking help now? And a lot of times they're saying that, they've known for a long time, but were just afraid. They were ashamed. So I think that, again, that this platform of telehealth has opened the doors for people to feel more comfortable reaching out. I think that they are actually, from my perspective, they are finding a lot of value in this. I think them sitting around home, probably on social media, they may run across something that sparks, or something someone says that sparks something in them that may prompt them to, Google a little bit about mental health or whatever the case may be, and just seek some information. Again, I think I'm not a big social media person, but I know the value that it does present for us these days. I'm an old timer. So I think that people are recognizing or hearing word of mouth from other people who have sought therapy once they get through the shame of the whole idea of therapy. They're listening to people, they're reading about this, and it's opening their minds up a little bit more about at least experimenting with therapy.
Got it. Yeah, I can't say, I've been in therapy now for a year and a half, almost 2 years,
Mhm.
and I just got comfortable with saying it. So I understand
I'm
your
a Black
struggle.
man and I go to therapy. Yeah.
Yes, so I just got comfortable with saying it because I was nervous that people was gonna be like, "Oh, she's crazy," or "Oh, girl, what you got going on?" So I could imagine, along with the male ego and pride and the stigma that comes around it, how it could feel with them being like, "Oh yeah, no therapy, can't
Well,
do that."
people gotta realize you don't have to have schizophrenia. You don't have to have all of these extreme things that we've grown up to believe in, that we've seen on media, to 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 understand that it's okay to just sit and talk to someone totally unbiased, totally unknown to you, about what might be going on with you, things that you can't figure out alone. Um, and again, I think people are really starting to find freedom. A lot of people that seek therapy don't necessarily have a what we call a diagnosis. People don't want those labels. Um, but again, when you're talking about maneuvering through life, particularly as life looks right now, which is totally different from what we ever could have imagined.
Yes.
And I think that's probably where you're going to go next. But when you figure our lives have changed drastically, that has created a stress and anxiety in people in general that we never ever thought would ever be. So it's really learning different ways of how to maneuver through life as it's going to be for a while.
Right. So I think you do know where I'm going next. I'm always, of course, we like to stay abreast, and although we're gonna get to like making sure you take care of yourself with business as well, because I do want to focus on like that hustle mentality that everyone has in business and how that can affect your mental as well. So I do want to go there, but before we go there, I do want to just, just for a brief moment, tag on what is happening with the Black Lives Matter movement, and then how that affects your mental of looking at everything, how it looks, as far as we're always seeing everything on the news. We're always right now we're constantly glued to our phones, seeing what's happening. We're constantly glued to the TV, checking in with what's going on, checking in with what's happening. So how can that affect your mental? And then what does that look like as a black man when a majority of the things that are happening are done to black men?
Mhm. Well, I think we really got to admit that, people of color, black men, black females have been living in a pandemic all of our lives. That's just a given. And with this new thing called Corona, COVID-19, that has presented our society with such uncertainty that it's almost crippling, because it's confusing, it's crippling, because we can't control. When we don't have control of our lives, we you're smiling. When we don't have control, and then we're a being that I think that likes to some degree be in control. When we don't have choices, when we are stifled by the moment we go out the door, do I have my mask? Do I have my gloves? Do I have wipes? Those are all new things that we have got to be able to recognize and to now accept, because that's just going to be a part of who our society actually is. Did I lose you?
No, I heard you.
Okay. This we're in a tough time right now, because with what they're telling us or what they're not telling us, uh, uh, um, is stressful. Even for us professionals, and my colleagues, we're on these different platforms. We always check in with one another because we're human too. And these times are challenging, when we've got we're in a marriage, we have children, we have work, on top of trying to stay within some boundaries of the restraints that we're put under. It's very stressful, and it causes us extreme anxiety. The one thing that I believe is that we as Black people don't know when we're anxious. We don't know necessarily when we are stressed, because we're bred to cope with these things, because we've coped with so many things all our lives. So excuse me, I think it's important that, and I tell my patients, right now with this thing that we don't know what's going to be, we've got to become more accepting that this is our reality. This is what we're faced with. We have absolutely no control over what's going to happen from minute to minute, particularly with that person that I won't name, over there on Pennsylvania Avenue, because things are changing every day, and we really have to take a step back. Take a step back, breathe, and ask ourselves, okay, now what can I do? What should I do? How do I need, what ways now can I learn or develop to live my best life? And we can still live our best life in the midst of what's going on right now.
No, I completely agree with everything that you said. So I guess you asked great questions just now. What you said, like what can I do to live my best life? Like how can I, make sure that I'm staying present, staying with myself. Um, so I guess what outside of those questions and
Mhm.
outside of that thought process, what would be one piece of advice that you would give to someone right now who is, I guess, trying to find that but can't necessarily find
We have to go back to, I think we have to think about what makes me happy, what brings me joy, and how can I create that feeling in the midst of everything that's going on around me, when it comes to police brutality, when it comes to racism, when it comes to COVID-19, when it comes to all of these things. Okay, how can I position myself to live my best life? And I do that by just taking a step back, you know, not necessarily not taking everything so seriously, but sometimes I need to just chill. for a moment. Not, and when I say chill, I don't mean go drink a half a bottle of alcohol or go smoke a blunt or whatever the case may be. But if that's what gets you chilled, you do what works. Just be mindful of what you're doing. I think that we have to create a new norm for ourselves. We have to create different things that's going to add that spark of joy to our lives. Excuse me. Um, we have to find different ways of exercising. The gyms are closed. Yes, they're gradually opening up, but if you're smart, my advice to you is probably stay away from those things, for a while, because again, there's uncertainty when I walk through that door, what's going to happen. Um, Meditation, I think that is, and when I say meditation, I don't mean, you have to go sit and and all of those. Just sit quietly, run a bath, grab some music, journal, you know, uh, journaling. I know it's foreign to a lot of Black men, but I'm telling you, when you sit down and you just allow yourself to just write with no intention, you'll be surprised of what ends up on that paper. And that's another way of releasing a lot of stress and anxiety. Join some. I mean, we're already doing this. We're having what do you call Zoom
Yeah.
meetings, family meetings, and things of. I remember when this first hit back in March, my family did one, and we were actually on the line for about 2.5 hours. I was totally exhausted, but it was very, very helpful. And again, those are those creative things. We had a bar hop where we would actually take the computer or our phone from room to room and have a drink as if we were going from bar to bar.
Oh, wow, that is so creative.
So again, it really is about being creative, because we have to redesign who we are, with the restrictions that we're faced under, and make those things grow for us, make it work for us.
Definitely. So you kind of, went into where I wanted to go next, where you said, taking a break and taking, a moment for yourself. So, let's get to the business side because that's what, we're here for. So, as the chamber supports entrepreneurs, those who are in corporate America all over the place. But for, of course, Black people and then Black men on top of that, there's like this, there's a little bit of heaviness that comes with being an entrepreneur, because you have to feel like you have to have that hustle mentality where you have to constantly go, you can't stop, you have to sleep, I gotta grind, I gotta make it for my family, I gotta, do it for the hood, I gotta do it for everybody. And then also the people who are in corporate America, just like, oh, I have to, just come in here and I have to be twice as good and work twice as hard and all those different things. So what does taking care of your mental in those spaces look like? How do people understand that, in business, I can practice wellness as well as be, an amazing business owner. I don't have to have, that hustle mentality. I don't have to be up at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, grinding as if, I'm on the streets and hustling. I can, get my sleep and wake up in the morning and be a better person. And then also walking into, corporate America, which is, predominantly all white spaces. What does that look like for a Black man that's like, okay, I have to be on here, but I also want to remain true to myself?
I think that we cannot dismiss, when it comes to being an entrepreneur, that there are days, or a day, that I need to disconnect and take care of me. And you do that however brings you that much pleasure. Um, we If we don't take that break, if we don't, because I'm a believer that I can work all day long and there's still something else to do. So I tell myself, I'm going to get these things. I make a list. I'm going to do these things today. And that's all I'm going to do. That's a full day. If by chance I don't get that last thing done, that's okay. We've got to understand, we've got to accept that because I didn't get this done, that it is okay. There's tomorrow. And that doesn't mean that that's going to make tomorrow that much heavier. We pace ourselves even throughout that particular day. Going back into corporate America, if that's where you are, again, yes, we have to perform at our best to be accepted. But if I don't believe in myself, if I don't believe already that I'm the best, I'm always in my head about what I didn't do or what I'm going to get wrong. I've got to know without a shadow of doubt that I'm the best, that I'm the gift to this organization. And it's not being cocky, it's not being arrogant, it's being confident in who you are and what you can bring to that particular organization. If by chance you hit a wall, I'm also a believer, maybe that's not the place for me. So while I'm still doing my best here, I'm over here looking for what might work better for me. And I've got to feel comfortable enough in myself to make those changes.
That was a great answer. You had me over here, like I'm over here, like, oh yes, take some notes. um, so okay, so you talked about journaling, you talked about meditation, and we talked about being in the workspace. So my question is, one thing I noticed that a lot of Black men don't do is kind of affirm themselves. So what does that, that affirmation or, that pep talk look like when you're in these spaces to remind yourself like, hey, I'm good, I got this.
Mhm. Just what you did. We have to be able to change that narrative because we've been rehearsing this story in the back of our minds, sometimes in the front of our minds for years, that I'm not enough, I can't do it, all of these negative things. We really have to develop a different mantra for ourselves. I remember a couple of years ago, I went to Lisa Nichols' convention in Atlanta, and she tricked me up on stage um, by asking four men to bring a chair up to the stage. And she said, well, since you brought the chairs, you might as well come on up and sit in them, really in front of all of these people. And what she described was just what I just said. We, for years, have been told or have been told that these negative things about ourselves. You're just like your daddy. You ain't no good. You're not never going to be anything. And what she had us do was rehearse the opposite mantra of that. And mine was I can do anything I set my mind to because I deserve it. Mm-hmm. And she had me repeat that over and over and louder until I'm telling you, I was in total tears until I believed that. I had to learn to believe a different narrative and live within that narrative. Start to do the things that actually make that thing that I came up with a reality and truth to myself. And I've been living joyfully ever since that time.
That is awesome. So before we, close out, we talked about a lot. Are there any tips and, advice or anything you want to say, that could encourage someone who's watching, may watch later, or just something that you just want, you know, Black men to know, um, just overall?
I think the biggest thing is to be honest with yourselves. And that goes real deep if you allow it to go deep. If you allow yourself to be humble enough, show a little humility that I may not have it all together, and that's okay. It is actually okay because that's your beginning when you can actually admit to yourself that I don't have it, but I want it. I think that is what propels us to our next level. If we're never honest with who we are, what we want, what we've done, no matter how bad it was, and have the desire to change, we'll stay stuck. you'll stay stuck right where you are and maybe even get worse. So it's really about being honest with yourself, being humble enough to say, I need some help. It's okay.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I want to say thank you so much for doing this impromptu check-in with us. For those of you who are kind of joining in towards the end, we had Reginald Cunningham speaking today about Black men's health because it is National Men's Health Month, and I feel that in order for any man to be their best, they must start with their mind because it's all connected, mind, body, and soul. You see, mind is at the top, and then you work your way down to the tucks. But you guys, make sure you guys check in with us. We have more chamber check-ins coming up next month for the month of July. On until whenever this ends and we get ready to get back into you guys' lovely faces. But until then, we're doing everything virtual. Make sure you guys check out my GABC on Instagram and Twitter. You guys on Facebook here at the Greater Augusta Black Chamber of Commerce page. Make sure you like it. And then don't forget to visit our website. Our website is mygabc.org for more information and different events that we have coming up. Thank you so much, Mr. Reginald. So happy to have you. And I will talk to you guys later.
Take care.